season ticket member vote. This was the case across all tenures, from our amazing and loyal ticket holders since 1968 to our new joiners this year. The organization is very pleased with the participation by our season ticket members, so thank you to everyone who voted. We appreciate your engagement and making your voices heard in this process. The Bengals Ring of Honor represents the best of the best. Our season ticket members and fans know this is clearly the case for both Ken Anderson and Ken Riley. First and foremost, both were great players. They did it the right way, worked hard, were coachable, they made their teammates better, and were essential to creating a great team that took us to a Super Bowl. Second, both demonstrated excellent character. They represented the Cincinnati Bengals so well. They were loyal and had long careers with us. They made and continue to make a positive impact in the community. We look forward to formally inducting our entire Ring of Honor inaugural class at our Thursday night football game against the Jacksonville Jaguars on September 30th. We will celebrate them with an induction ceremony during halftime. We have a lot of special things planned for that night, and we hope our fans will join us in the celebration. We'll have many Bengals legends there in attendance that night to show their support for our inaugural class. All Ring of Honor nominees have been invited to the game because we believe it's so important to continue to recognize them and create the camaraderie of a team across generations of Bengals legends. The Ring of Honor is a recurring tradition, and the 15 nominees will remain on the ballot for consideration in future years. We will also be recognizing the 40th anniversary of the 1981 Super Bowl team that featured Anthony, Ken, and Ken. We'll celebrate that team during a pregame ceremony, so we've invited the members of the 1981 roster to join us at the Jacksonville game as well. Today is a day to celebrate Ken and Ken, so thank you all for being here, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ken Anderson to say a few words and then take your questions.
Ken, you're on mute there. You take yourself off mute.
I am so sorry about that. I'm just old enough to be technologically challenged, I guess. But, first of all, my thanks to the Bengals organization for taking a chance on a kid from Augustana College back in 1971 and giving him a chance to develop. And it's really an exciting day for me to go in with Kenny Riley. He was my longest tenured teammate that I ever played with. So that is really, exciting. And I'm just so grateful that the Bengals are doing this Ring of Honor. And, I think for one of the reasons it kind of remembers some of the guys from the past. I think we have a long tradition of success and winning in Cincinnati, and it started back in the 70s, certainly going to the playoffs in the third year in 1970, before I got there. But, 73, 75, I think in those years, that we were as good as any team in the football or in the National Football League. Unfortunately, the Pittsburgh Steelers happen to be in our division. But I will take satisfaction the fact that we won more games against Pittsburgh than any other team during that period of time. But I think, and again, I go back, especially to the guys in the 60s and 70s. When I talk about the Bob Johnsons and the Bob Trumpies and the Mike Reeds and the Tommy Casanovas and the Lamar Parishes, and my gosh, is Essex Johnson as good a running back as we ever had, except maybe for that early knee injury, in his career. And then we can kind of bring back some of those memories. And, I think sometimes people forget today, especially around the country, that the Bengals have a long and rich winning tradition in the National Football League. And I'm really glad that we can kind of focus on that and it'll be a fun night, September 30th. And the thing I'm most excited about is we had some success back in those days, and I see a lot of success coming from the Bengals in the future.
Kenny, I'll start if you can hear me. Can you
Yes,
hear
I
me?
can.
I'm curious to get your impression on the team's willingness to finally go ahead with the Ring of Honor. You touched on it a little bit, but what it means and what you think it will mean in the eyes not only of former Bengals, but other teams who come into Paul Brown Stadium and see those names up on the Eastern Wall.
Well, I don't know how many teams don't have a Ring of Honor, but I certainly think that I'm excited the Bengals are doing this. And, as I said before, just we have a rich tradition. And to go back and remember some of those players from the past and what an impact they had, not only in Cincinnati, but in the National Football League. So I'm really excited. And, Elizabeth did a great job coming to the organization and spearheading this. And I'm really grateful for her and for the Bengals really following through on it.
Kenny, when you think about the Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame, and so many people think you and Ken Riley, deservedly so, belong there, do you think this is a good next step to show them that the recognition by the team is a precursor to hopefully getting that enshrinement one day?
I have no idea. It's I guess I've kind of been the picture for a while now. But and I don't know what the criteria sometimes what it is to get in the Hall of Fame. So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it until it's that time of year when somebody calls and asks me about it.
Thank you.
Kenny, what was it like to practice against Kenny Riley?
Well, I think if you talk to any of the receivers during that era, from Isaac to Chris Collinsworth, that was a guy. Is Isaac Curtis the best receiver in Bengals history? How could I leave him out when I was talking about former players of the past? But, he made everybody better. And I think, you listen to Chris Collinsworth talk, and he would run around and Kenny would grab him before he went back to the huddle and kind of give him little tips on how he was tipping it off. And, you had to be at your best every day with Kenny.
How did you get the call, and was the feeling of getting inducted into the Ring of Honor what you expected and hoped it would be?
Yeah, it was. I got the call from Mike and Elizabeth informing me that, and again, I think it was just the sense of pride. Not only, I felt great about it, but I feel good because it's not an individual award really. It's a collection of the teammates that I've had over the years, and I think when you talk about that period of time from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, what made us special is how close we were and the friendships that still remain. And I know how many of the guys have supported me in my efforts with my foundation. And I think they support everybody. And these guys were just a special group of guys that did so much good in the community and still do today.
Ken, is your phone blowing up from different teammates and players that you played with reaching out about this?
Yeah, it is. And that's, it's been very nice. But like I say, it's tough when you get an individual award because that would never have happened without the guys that I was playing with. And certainly, just another guy, Vernon Holland came in my draft class, #1 draft choice at right tackle. And, the offensive line we had in those days. And of course, when my career was going down, it all shifted when we got Anthony and Max and Blair Bush and Lapham and Bujnak and Mike Wilson, and I got good again. Is there a correlation there somehow?
Is that why this is so special? Because not only you get to celebrate, obviously, Ken Riley, but all your teammates can celebrate and be remembered in a way as part of it.
No, I think that's one of the fun things about it is that we start to remember the past and what it was like. And in fact, I was just at a family reunion and my Aunt Nancy was cleaning out a bunch of stuff and she gave me a box of articles and old programs. And so I spent last week kind of going through those and brought back a lot of memories. I mean, because, my Uncle Gary was kind of like my older brother and he was there from the beginning. And so kind of following it through as I read those articles.
And he's in a couple
Drop
pictures
by.
behind you. What did Bill Walsh mean to you? What did he do for your career?
Well, it gave me the tremendous fundamentals to play the position. And, I remember, when you come from Augustana, that's not the quarterback factory of college football. And to come in and to spend the time with me. And I remember literally, for a week, we would just walk in place to get the footwork and the timing and the feel of it. And sitting me down and teaching me the offense and, slowly but meticulously. And so, I mean, he gave me, the foundation for the rest of my career and for my coaching career as well.
And
But
Ben,
another guy you forget about is Lindy Infante, who's up there too, who had a great impact on my career.
Ken, Ben Baby from ESPN here. First off, congratulations and nice to meet you virtually. Ken Riley was a pretty good quarterback at Florida A&M before he came to the NFL. Did you ever get to see him throw it around at all? I mean, did y'all ever get to see his arm in practice?
Not that I recall, but I had the feeling if we needed him, he could step over and do a pretty good job.
Did he ever talk about that at times of kind of, did you ever hear, back when I was at FAMU, we used to sling it around a little bit and I could throw the ball a little bit. I mean, did that ever come up at all in y'all's conversation?
No, because then he'll be talking about himself, and Kenny never did that, and it's hard when you come from college playing one position and they ask you to make a drastic change going from quarterback to cornerback. My gosh, is there a bigger change than that? But I think, the offensive point of view helped him in realizing, and understanding what was going on in front of him. And, it never wouldn't have happened if he wouldn't have been smart, if he wouldn't have been a great athlete.
Kenny, congratulations. I want to kind of echo what Bach said earlier. I think most would agree that you belong in Canton and should be in there. But I'm always impressed at how you've kind of taken some of the absurd Canton slights with such grace and good nature. I'm curious if that was kind of a conscious choice early on your part not to make a big deal of it, or if that's just a matter of viewing it as something that's kind of out of your control that you just don't worry about.
Well, I think it's a little bit of my upbringing as well. When you go to a small high school and you go to a small college, you're never playing for the accolades that may come with it. And I think that's always been my philosophy, coming to the Bengals. We had a lot of success and it wasn't my success. Any success I had was directly related, to the team around me. And so I guess I've never been too concerned about individual things when it's so much of a team game.
I know one of the things you've talked about with that is how great that weekend would be. If that were to happen, can something like this event that will happen in September equal that for you?
Oh, it's going to be a great weekend. I mean, not only to be inducted into the first Ring of Honor, but, I talked a lot about the guys from the 60s and 70s because I think they're too often forgotten. But, I think a lot of people remember that 81 team, which was a real special team, and to have those guys there, to be a part of it. But what I'm really looking forward to more is the time that we're not on the field for any ceremonies and the time that we can all get together and really enjoy each other.
Kenny, which accolade are you most proud of? MVP of the 1981 season or passing titles in back-to-back years, 2 different decades, 2 different coordinators, 2 different systems, or anything else? Is there anything that you point to and say, well, this is what I'm most proud
of? Dave, I think it's got to be 1975 when I won the Man of the Year. You talk about the Hall of Fame being an exclusive club. The Man of the Year is maybe even more exclusive. They only do one a year. And I think because that's not only what you do on the field, but what you do off the field. And, certainly I got a lot of credit that year. But as I said earlier, I think one of the special things about the group of guys that we played with all those years is how much good everyone has done for the community.
What about going, Kenny, into this Ring of Honor, the inaugural class? Anthony Munoz talked about Paul Brown, going in with Paul Brown in that first class. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's special. We've had, 2 Hall of Famers in the history of the franchise, and to go in with those. And, I remember when I got down to Cincinnati, it was the second day of the draft, and I got to go in and meet Paul Brown behind his desk, and just the awe I had to be in his presence when you when you think back of the success that he had in professional football. And you know, I think the marks that he made, I mean, basically the way that the teams operate now, whether it's from an off-season standpoint or how practices are organized and how you meet, that was all Paul Brown started that whole thing. And, you know, just to be a part of him. And sometimes I think the only thing I wished is I would have been around him when he was a little bit younger and might have been a little bit more involved in the game planning.
Ken, under normal circumstances, last year, I'm sure you would have been at training camp, getting to know Joe Burrow and talking to him about your career and answering whatever questions he might have. I don't know if that was possible in the pandemic to even get to know him at all. Have you two guys had much contact, and are you looking forward to getting to know him better?
Oh, we've texted a little bit back and forth, but no, I'm really looking forward to meeting him. And, you know, like I say, I really appreciate what he did on the field last year before he got hurt. I mean, you can tell he's the real deal. But I'm more impressed, I think, what he's done off the field. I'm more impressed with his leadership skills and how he led that team. I'm impressed the way he handles himself, you know, talking about, well, should we draft this guy or that guy? You know, that's not my job. You know, my job is to play football. So I was hoping it was going to be this spring because I had dropped a few jerseys off for him to sign for me, which he's always been very gracious to do. But unfortunately, with the NFL COVID protocols, I still wasn't allowed anywhere near the facility. So I can't wait for that day to happen.
Kenny, when you got drafted by the Bengals, Paul Brown, Hall of Famer, Bill Walsh, Hall of Famer, those two guys being the two people that probably helped you lay the foundation to the outstanding career you had. How fortunate do you feel in hindsight?
Well, I mean, you know, I think the other guys from my draft class, you know, certainly Jim Plunkett was number 1, Archie Manning was number 2, Dan Pastorini was number 3, Joe Theismann went, you know, Lynn Dickey went, and I believe Plunkett had the comment, you know, he said that I was the lucky one, you know, that I got to go to a stable franchise with a great owner, with a great quarterback coach. And I really was lucky. And you know, Dave, when you're from Batavia, Illinois, and you go to school in Rock Island, Illinois, the big city may not have been my cup of tea. And Cincinnati and just the way that you're welcome there. And, you know, if you work hard, people, you know, respect you for that. So I think Cincinnati was just, you know, the perfect place for me.
Hey, Ken, congratulations. You mentioned Ken Riley's personality and how long you guys were teammates. I would assume there was a couple practices along the way where maybe he got the best of you a few times. Did he ever let you know about it, even in a playful manner, or was it just drop the ball and go back?
More than a couple times did he get the best of me. No, but I think, you know, but the thing is Kenny was always about team. And then he would pull me off aside and he said, listen, your eyes were doing this. This is how you tipped it off, and I got to jump on your route. So, I mean, I think that's one of the special things about him is how he made everyone around him better.
2 more minutes.
Ken, when you look back at the time that you and Ken Riley came in, coming from a very small college or an HBCU wasn't a norm. I mean, now with scouts everywhere and film everywhere, do you look back sometime and think that you guys really helped a lot of other guys get opportunities because you proved that you could play at the NFL level regardless of where you came from?
Well, you know, hopefully that was the case. But, you know, I think it was just a case of 2 guys wanting to work hard and wanting to get a shot at it. But I also think it does show that there's quite a bit of talent at some of the smaller schools.
Yeah, thank you.
Kenny, you were known for your accuracy. I mean, everybody, that teammates, opponents, everybody that watched you play marveled at your ability to throw it as straight as anybody ever has. What was the key to the accuracy that you possessed?
Well, I think, Dave, you know, I mean, I coached quarterbacks for a lot of years too. And I think, you know, to a certain extent, it's God-given ability to be able to throw a football from here to there and know where you want it to go. But then I think that to showcase that, though, you've got to be able to have the fundamentals of throwing the football, the balance with your footwork. And I think that's what, you know, Bill Walsh and Lindy Infante did a great job with me. Certainly the fundamentals that Bill gave me, and, you know, just to be in balance. And I remember one of his quarterbacks, Steve Young, say, young saying that, you can film me from the waist down. I'll tell you if I had a good game or not. And then, I owe so much credit to Lindy Infante. I mean, people thought my career was slipping away. And he, sat down with me when he first got there. We watched a lot of old film and saw that I'd gotten in some bad habits. And we worked extremely hard to get back to those fundamentals. So, we talk a lot about Bill Walsh, and I think Lindy Infante gets overlooked in a lot of this.
You talked about being able to enjoy the off the field stuff the weekend of the inaugural class going in, but have you thought about what it will feel like being honored on the field there, just like in that moment being honored?
Oh gosh, no. I guess the thing that I'm most looking forward to is, my kids were young enough and they still remember a little bit of my playing days. Obviously, my grandkids never saw me play. Although I've got one grandson that's very familiar with YouTube and looks up a lot of the old videos. But I think it's going to be so exciting that my grandkids will be at the game and get to see me out on the field one time.
One last question.
You have a favorite game from your career that was not a postseason game, a favorite regular season game?
Oh, wow. I guess I go back to that, the 75 Monday night game. We had Buffalo in town, and I think it was the first Monday night game, regular season game in Cincinnati. And I think I threw for 447 and OJ ran for about 200. It was one of those back and forth games. And, again, that was, to see Cincinnati showcased on Monday Night Football and that the town lit up, I think was a very special night.
All right, Ken, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And of course, congratulations.
Thank you. And I will see you up there. Well, I'll be up there before September 30th. But I can't wait for that night to come.
All right, great. Sounds good. All right, now everyone, we're going to transition to Ken Riley, the second son of Ken Riley. So Ken, take it away. You're on mute there, Ken.
All right, sorry about that. Yes. Thanks again. It's definitely a great honor for my father to be inducted in the inaugural, Ring of Honor with some of the, like I said earlier, the Mount Rushmore. Congratulations to Ken Anderson and Anthony Munoz, and then the great Paul Brown. I mean, it's extremely honored and privileged for my father. So very exciting. It's like bittersweet that he's not here to celebrate with the rest of the team, but I know that he's looking down from above, and he's proud and excited, and it's well deserving. But definitely want to thank the Cincinnati Bengals and Elizabeth for putting this together. And all of the fans, I on social media, the Bengal Gym, T. Justins. I mean, I can go on and on. Just the support from the fans, and to actually be voted in by the the season ticket holders makes it, like I say, even that more special. So shout out to all the fans, and again, just thank you for all the support. My family and I, we really appreciate it. And it's just a great opportunity. And even today, it's my son's birthday, Ken Riley III, so it couldn't be an even better day. So it's a great birthday present for him as well.
Ken, when you think about, first of all, congratulations. You hear all the stories about your dad and his class, his professionalism, and obviously his accomplishments, but what don't we know about your dad that in your mind makes him even better than all that?
Well, a lot has been said about him, and he was very, kind of quiet, but he was super competitive, and you don't get to that level without being competitive. Even though he was laid back, but he definitely had a fire in him, and he was so competitive that I always joke about he has a golf tournament every year, and every year he would take his golf club, but he never played. And he would say because he was busy and had to run around and do other things that revolve in the tournament. But the reason why is because he hates to lose. So he never played. And after I got to a certain age, like shooting pool, and I was able to beat him, he stopped playing. So just the competitive nature of him, that he hated to lose to anybody. So that's just who he was.
Thank you.
Ken, first off, congratulations to y'all. What's it like as for for the family to kind of have this recognition? And a lot of people have thought that Ken's been overlooked for years. What's it been like for y'all as a family to kind of now have this as something kind of permanent to point to in terms of his legacy in Cincinnati and in the NFL?
It's definitely a great honor, and to be recognized by the Bengals. He played his entire career with the Cincinnati Bengals, so we are very appreciative of it. And like I said, it's definitely a great honor.
You look and sound so much like your dad. It's unbelievable. It really is. Your dad was probably as good a human being as walked God's green earth. I mean, he had tremendous people skills, leadership, all that. What would be something that you learned, maybe the one thing or a couple of things that you learned from your dad as you were growing up with him as your father?
One of the things, like I say, he was a very humble person and let your actions speak for you. And just the hard work. Growing up, I can remember he was always in great shape. And I played football myself. And at the time, I didn't realize the work that he was putting in. We would be driving in cars and he would be running alongside the car for it seemed like for miles. And he did this year after year after year. So just putting in that hard work and always making sure that he was prepared. And whatever you do to give it your best. And I try to teach those same lessons to my kids today.
Hey, Kenny, congratulations. What was it like to play for him? He was a hell of a coach. What was he like as a coach, and what was he like to play for?
It was definitely a great honor to play for him. I had some other opportunities to go to some other schools, but I figured I couldn't because I played the same position. I couldn't get any better knowledge than playing from him, but still laid back. And he actually coached offense because that was his thing. But at the same time, he was able to, if I was doing something wrong or a false step or like reading a wide receiver, he's able to pick it up right away and to give me that knowledge right then. So it was a great opportunity.
During this Ring of Honor process, as the conversation has continued, do you feel like an even closer connection to the Bengals organization as a result of this process?
Not only the Bengals organization, but the Bengal fans. A little known fact, I like to joke that I was actually born in Cincinnati. I came 2 months early. I was supposed to be born in January, but I came in November. So it was like, hey, I wanted to be born there. But Cincinnati Bengals has always been a class act, especially with my father. They gave him the opportunity to, his first opportunity, only opportunity because he played for 15 years. But they've always been supportive. He's always kept that relationship with not only Coach Paul Brown, but Mr. Mike Brown. They would talk throughout often. And whenever my father, called or asked or whenever we came up, it was always a warm welcome, not only from the Bengals organization, but the fans.
Ken, how much did you talk to your dad about a potential Ring of Honor? And just over the years, did that come up? Was that a topic of conversation?
Well, I think Ken Anderson mentioned earlier, you see a lot of them. I think most teams have a Ring of Honor of some sort. So it was always something in the back of his mind, like, it would be great for, Cincinnati to have something like that. And I know a couple of years back, it was mentioned that there may be a possibility. So we kind of discussed it. Like I said, it's kind of bittersweet, but I know he's smiling from above, and it's definitely a great honor.
I know you appreciate all the social media, and fans and the outpouring that you've seen. Were you nervous at all before you got the call and you found out the news that your dad was going to be inducted?
Well, you never know when it's a voting process. The same thing with the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You can only, hope and, kind of think. But I would really like to give a big shout out to the social media and all the fans. Like I said, it's been such, overwhelmingly great support, and they continue to do it not only for the former players, but the current players. And with Elizabeth and Emily, the things that they've been doing to, to give the fans that opportunity, it's just been awesome. And like I said, I'm looking at my Twitter account now, and I'm seeing all the messages and support. It never gets old, and it really makes you feel good. And my family and I, we really thank everyone for their support. And I can never say it enough. Like I said, it's really a special time.
You mentioned the Hall of Fame. All four people that are going in the Ring of Honor should be in the Hall of Fame. Two of them are. Kenny Anderson and your dad aren't. Do you think that something like this might help his efforts that everybody's putting forth to try to get Ken Riley deservedly in the Hall of Fame?
You would think so, but you just never know. Like Ken Anderson said, I've been pushing ever since he retired back in '83. So he would never really think about it, same as Ken Anderson said either, until that time comes. But I'm always sending him stuff. I would always send him something. I'm always sending it out to the reporters, and just like, I think it's it. And then so you never know. But hopefully this is the start, and they can see that the Bengals are recognizing their greats, and it'll be something that can propel into hopefully Pro Football Hall of Fame, because they're not only the Ken Andersons, the Willie Andersons, the Lamar Parrishes, the Isaac Curtis. I can go on. There's been so many Bengal greats who are deserving of not only the Ring of Honor, but also that Pro Football Hall of Fame. And hopefully this is something that can springboard and get some of those guys into the Hall of Fame.
Kenny, congratulations.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about the term shutdown corner. It's a term that certainly we all know today because it's such a pass-happy league. I'm curious how you think your dad would have adjusted, because the game in the NFL is all about adjustments, and your dad was one of the best at doing that. How would he adjust to today's pass-happy game?
Well, he was a competitor, and not only was he a competitor, he was very intelligent. So I think that he would have just fit right in. And the thing is, he was a complete player. Not only he could play the pass, but he could also support the run. So I think that's what kind of separates. They say shutdown corners, but it's best to be a complete corner where you can do both. So, and I think that he was able to do both. And not only do both, but do them very well and do it for a very long time. Even at the age of 36, he was still able to compete at a high level. So, like I said, I have so much, respect for him. And I think that, of course, I would think he would fit in any time or any era.
Hey, Ken, how many of your dad's 65 interceptions do you think you saw in person? And do you have a favorite memory from a game or a particular pick?
Well, I think the one that sticks out the most when it might have been '83 when he came down to Tampa, because actually I didn't see a lot of games live in person, and back then we didn't have the NFL package, so I used to just wait for halftime that maybe they'll show a glimpse of the Bengals highlight or the NFL, whatever, HBO, I can't remember what it was. So I didn't see a lot of home games, but at this particular game, since it was in Tampa, I was able to see it. And he got an interception interception for a touchdown. Former Bengal Jack Thompson, so that sticks out. So those were one of the special moments.
Did he ever give you a game ball or any sort of memorabilia from a game?
Well, I have 4 or 5 of his interceptions, game balls, and I'm a big Bengals fan, a big football fan. So I have a lot of great memorabilia.
Dad was known for when the receiver went airborne, that he would take the legs out from under him and just take them butt over tea kettle as such, and it was an intimidating deal. I mean, he'd let guys know, that he was there and he was serious. Did you guys ever talk about that technique, and did you ever employ it?
Yeah, well, we talked about it. Actually, when I was growing up, my youngest sister, she doesn't know it, but I actually tried to emulate it. So I would have her jump high, and I was trying to flip her. That probably wasn't the best thing to do. Well, it wasn't the best thing to do. She could have really got hurt. So, yeah, definitely talked about it, and it was something that was very special, what he was known for. So, I maybe had 1 or 2 hits like that myself, but not as consistent as he was. So, it was definitely great to see that.
You mentioned it's your son's birthday. How old is he? Does he play, or did he play?
He's 16. He's 16. He's turned 16. Well, he just turned 16 today, and he plays. He'll be a junior coming up this year, but he's like 6'3", so he's a taller, bigger guy. So he's playing defensive end.
don't think any of us have ever heard a negative word said by anybody about your dad. You carry his name, as has come up. Your son is Ken the Third. What does it mean to you to be Ken Riley the Second?
It's definitely a great honor, and I, carry that name with pride, and I try to instill that with my sons as well. That name means a lot. Like I said, it was he was my father, and just to hear others speak so highly of him really means a lot. But sometimes growing up as a kid, you don't realize others how they look at your father, because to me he was just my father. But to hear other people actually speak so highly of him, not only the Cincinnati Bengals, but you have the Mel Blunts and the James Lawtons. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it is it's a camaraderie and the brotherhood, and all around the league. And to hear such former greats speak so highly of him, it really means a lot.
2 more minutes.
And go ahead, Pete. When you talk about your son playing football, obviously he is too young to have seen his granddad on the field. Do you have film, YouTube highlights, things like that? You sit down with him and say, "Hey, here's your granddad putting in work."
Yeah, he's seen him, of course, and my father. He talked to my father, so he knows the history of it. And so it's great to see, like I said, the YouTube videos and to kind of just show him how good his grandfather was.
Thank you.
Class and dignity are 2 words, obviously, that always come up about your dad, Kenny. But did he ever talk to you about Paul Brown and what it was like to play for him, and what maybe Paul Brown saw in the way your dad handled himself on and off the field?
Yeah, yes, of course. And I have so much respect for the Brown family, especially Paul Brown, for giving them a great opportunity. But it was kind of more like intimidating, though. It was like when Coach Paul Brown said, "Okay, you're playing corner," and so many stories. Like the one story that sticks out to me, I guess he had been in the league maybe 5 or 6 years, and Coach Brown and my dad said he probably was, coming off a down season, but Coach Brown said, "Hey, you see who we drafted this year?" And I think I don't remember who it was, but it was a first round defensive back. And he was like, "Yeah." And then he kind of was switching my father back from left to the right side at corner. And he was like, "Yeah, you see who we drafted? We're looking to replace you." And my father, being a competitive, he said, like, the next game, he picked up 2 interceptions in the preseason. And then Coach Brown said to him, "It's like, that's what I'm talking about. Now get back on your side." And he's like, he never switched sides again. So like I say, it was a great story to showcase, Coach Paul Brown's like, "Hey, it's all about business." And my dad just being a competitor, like, "Hey, okay, well, I'm going to show you." So I thought that was a great story about both of them and their characters.
Thank you.
Kenny, do you have any memorabilia from the '81 team? You got anything from the Super Bowl? Did he talk about the Super Bowl? Did he talk about the season?
It was disappointing. I mean, I remember that because I actually went to that game, but he just talked about, he still to this day think that they were a better team. But at that day, that particular game, that's unfortunate about the difference between the NBA and the NFL. You only get one shot. And sometimes it's like, if you have an off day, then, you only have that one time. But definitely a great team and the brotherhood. And, it was a great time, the first Super Bowl trip. Unfortunately, they didn't come out on top, but he still thinks that they were a very special team. And, to this day, they should have won it, but at that time, they just didn't happen.
Do you remember anything about that trip? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Butch.
Do you remember anything about that trip, Kenny? Anything at all? Anything stand out about that?
It was cold. And I remember the snow and the ice and having on shoes and just falling on the sidewalk, a kid from Florida, so not used to that snow and ice. And yeah, a lot of memories though, a lot of memories from that game.
One last question.
What kind of dad was your dad? Was he a disciplinarian? Was he kind of like an older brother type dad? What type of dad was your dad?
He was just like what all of y'all have said about him. He wasn't one to say a whole lot, but he demanded respect. So, when he said something, we listened. So it was he was still not a rah guy, but when he said something, okay, I better do it. So, and always just, you know, caring and loving, and just, you know, just like a father. So he was a great guy, a great man, and I have the utmost respect for him. So, he was my hero. So, you know, a lot of times you don't, you know, like I said, he was just a great guy, my hero. So, good guy.
All right, Ken, we'll let you go, but we appreciate your time and congratulations again.
Thank you for your time and congratulations to all others. And again, thank you for support and all that you're doing. Keep up the great work, guys.
Thanks, Kenny.
You got it.
All right, thank you.